I never thought I'd find myself missing the chaos of my old job, but at least back there, you knew who didn't like you. At Calder Tech Solutions, it took me months to realize that betrayal didn't always come with a warning. Sometimes, it came with a smile. When I started at Calder Tech, I was just trying to breathe again. My last job had nearly burnt me out, long hours, manipulative management, and an office culture so toxic I left with migraines and nightmares. So Calder Tech felt like a fresh start. Clean slate. New city, new role as a senior analyst, and a boss who, at first glance, seemed refreshingly hands-off. My first few weeks flew by. I kept my head down, delivered solid work, and stayed out of office politics. No gossip. No oversharing. Just performance. I came in early, stayed just a little late, and offered to pick up pieces of delayed projects. People started to take notice. Not loudly, but I heard the whispers. That's Olivia. She's sharp. You know she caught that vendor mistake no one else saw? She's on the short list for lead analyst when Rick retires. It felt good. I didn't crave attention, but I did want recognition. After everything I'd clawed through before, I wanted to believe good work was enough. Then Claire arrived. Claire was different. She joined us mid-quarter, fresh from a tech firm in Chicago, with a resume that sparkled and a wardrobe that could intimidate even the most seasoned executive assistant. She was warm. She remembered birthdays. She complimented shoes. She baked cupcakes. And she asked a lot of questions. At first, I didn't think anything of it. Most new hires are curious. But Claire's curiosity had an edge to it, sharp and deliberate. She always lingered near my desk. She asked about my routines. Hey, Liv, what time do you usually come in? You work from home sometimes, right? How do you log your hours? What's your take on Levins? Is he as stiff as he seems? There was something oddly rehearsed about the way she phrased things, like she was fishing, but pretending she wasn't holding a pole. Still, I gave her the benefit of the doubt. We shared a few lunches. She seemed like someone who had been hurt by toxic offices too, a kindred spirit, maybe. Then, about 2 months after Claire joined, I made a small mistake. A formula error in a financial projection. I caught it within the hour and sent a corrected version to the team. No big deal. Except it was. That afternoon, I was called into Mr. Levins's office. Olivia, I've been hearing some concerns about your attention to detail lately. Are you okay? Do you feel like you're juggling too much? I blinked. Sir, I caught that mistake. I fixed it immediately and resent the corrected sheet. Yes, well, just try to stay focused. We've all got eyes on this quarter's close. That line stuck with me. We've all got eyes on this quarter's close. Who exactly was we? And why did it feel like those eyes were watching me more than anyone else? It wasn't just the one conversation. Over the next few weeks, I started getting feedback on things that felt eerily specific. Once, I left early for a dentist appointment, approved in advance, and Levins mentioned in passing. Hope your dental visit went okay. You were out right at 3:45, I heard. I never told him the exact time. I told Claire, when she asked me where I was headed as I packed up my bag. It happened again. And again. And each time, the link became clearer, say something to Claire, and within hours, it was echoed by Levins or surfaced in a friendly HR check-in. It was subtle, never a formal reprimand, never anything I could officially contest. But it was constant. Death by 1,000 cuts. I stopped eating lunch in the break room. I started watching my back. By the time the project lead position was posted internally, I had already withdrawn into myself like a turtle under threat. It was supposed to be my role. Everyone on the team thought so, even Rick, the current lead who was retiring, had once clapped a hand on my shoulder and said, "I'll sleep easier knowing you'll take this over." But as soon as the announcement went up, something shifted. Not in me, but around me. Claire. Suddenly, Claire was everywhere. In every meeting. At every coffee machine encounter. Laughing with Levins in the hallway. Walking out of his office with a casual, almost smug look on her face, carrying folders she had no reason to be touching. I'd worked there for over a year. Claire had been here 2 months. And yet, she was being treated like royalty. I told myself I was imagining it. That maybe Levins was just mentoring her. But then I noticed her asking even more questions, less about work, more about me. Didn't you used to work at Stratwell before this? They made you lead analyst after just a year, right? You mentioned your mom was sick last year, did you take time off for that? If you could change one thing about how Levins runs the team, what would it be? I started answering her in vague platitudes, trying not to give her anything real. But one afternoon, in a moment of frustration, I slipped. I had just come out of a budget review meeting that went poorly, not because of anything I did, but because Levins failed to send us the correct data set. Still, I got the cold shoulder from him after the meeting. Back at my desk, I muttered, he throws people under the bus and acts like he's doing us a favor. Claire looked up from her monitor with the sweet concern of someone pretending to care. You okay? I sighed, too tired to guard my words. Honestly, I'm just over all this. The politics. The way he manages us like chess pieces. I wouldn't even be shocked if I didn't get the promotion. She tilted her head, her eyes soft. You're definitely getting it. Everyone says you're the obvious choice. And then she smiled, but her eyes didn't. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying that moment, how fast she'd perked up at my complaints. How her fingers seemed to linger on her keyboard even after our conversation ended. So I did something drastic, I planted a lie. The next morning, I waited until Claire was making her usual oatmeal in the kitchenette. I leaned against the counter, sipping my coffee with forced nonchalance. Hey, Claire, random question, do you know anything about the opening at Harris Tech across the street? She turned her head slightly. Harris Tech? The firm in Tower B? Yeah. I've been talking to someone over there. Nothing serious, just testing the waters. Her eyebrows shot up. Wow. I didn't know you were thinking of leaving. Neither does anyone, I said, taking another sip. Let's keep that between us. She nodded, but she looked a little too eager. By noon the next day, HR called me in for a routine career development chat. We just wanted to make sure you're feeling fulfilled here, the woman said with a tight smile. We've heard whispers that you might be considering outside opportunities. I felt the blood drain from my face. There it was. The confirmation I didn't want, but desperately needed. Claire had told them. She was spying. She was feeding them every word I said. Every complaint. Every thought. And I had just handed her another one. I left the HR office and sat in my car for 30 minutes, engine off, keys in my lap. Part of me wanted to scream. Another part wanted to cry. But mostly, I felt betrayed. I hadn't just been passed over. I'd been watched, studied, and used. But if Claire thought I was going to roll over and let her take everything I'd built, she was wrong. I wasn't going down quietly. After the HR meeting, something in me shifted. The quiet, cooperative Olivia, the one who showed up early, stayed late, smiled through unjust critiques, was gone. In her place was someone watching back. I started observing Claire the way she had observed me. When she arrived, who she talked to, what meetings she sat in on, which files she accessed from the shared drive. I even kept a small notebook, just initials and timestamps. I didn't know what I'd do with it yet. I just knew I needed to protect myself. But no matter how prepared I thought I was, nothing could soften the blow that came 2 weeks later. The project lead position was officially awarded to Claire. The announcement came in an email, cold and clinical. Please congratulate Claire Reynolds on her promotion to lead analyst. Claire has demonstrated initiative, adaptability, and leadership potential, and we're excited for her to take on this new role. My screen blurred as I read it. My chest tightened. Claire. Claire, who had only been here 3 months. Claire, who didn't even understand our back-end systems fully. Claire, who had spied, manipulated, and smiled while twisting the knife. I walked out of the building without saying a word. My feet carried me to the park across the street, where I sat on a weathered bench under the dull gray sky. The trees had started to change, it was late October, and the wind was just cold enough to sting. My phone buzzed. A message from Rick, the retiring project lead. Just saw the announcement. I'm surprised. You've always been my pick. Let's get coffee sometime soon. I didn't reply. The next day, I avoided everyone. I buried myself in technical reports. I skipped the celebration lunch Claire hosted in the break room, where she brought balloons and store-bought cookies. I heard the fake laughter from my desk and gritted my teeth. Near the end of the day, Claire walked by my cubicle. Hey, Olivia, she said lightly. Didn't see you at lunch. I didn't look up. Wasn't hungry. She lingered. I could feel her smirk even before I glanced at her. Well, I know this might be awkward, but I really hope we can work together. I want your input on some of the Q4 forecasting tools, you're so good with the numbers. I finally looked up, forcing a tight smile. Sure. Whatever you need. But inside, I was boiling. Because I knew she didn't want my input, she wanted my silence. She wanted me compliant. She wanted to rub it in. But what she didn't know was that I wasn't going to just sit back. Not anymore. That evening, I got an unexpected Slack message from Daniel, one of our back-end developers. We weren't particularly close, but we'd collaborated a few times. Daniel, 4:58 p.m. Hey. Can I show you something? Not here. After work? My pulse quickened. Olivia, 5 p.m. Show me what? Daniel, 5:01 p.m. Just meet me in the server room at 5:30. I think you'll want to see it. My instinct said this was important. At 5:27 p.m., I quietly made my way to the far end of the building. The server room was cold and humming with the sound of machines. Daniel stood near a workstation, his hoodie pulled over his head. He didn't say anything at first. Just turned his monitor toward me. You're not crazy, he said quietly. I leaned in, and what I saw made my stomach turn. Security footage. One clip showed Claire entering Mr. Levins's office, carrying a folder from my desk. Another showed her typing something on her phone in the break room immediately after I'd told her something personal. And there were more. I've seen her do it before, Daniel said. She did the same thing to Linda. I blinked. Linda? The girl who got fired 6 months ago. Claire joined right after, remember? No one ever said why Linda left. But I overheard Claire reporting things to Levins about her, too. I didn't want to believe it, but... He paused. I kept backups. In case it ever happened again. I stared at the screen. The betrayal. The manipulation. The proof. For the first time in weeks, I didn't feel powerless. I walked out of that server room a different woman. Because now I had a choice. I could stay quiet. Or I could burn the whole damn game down. For the next 2 days, I operated like a ghost, silent, focused, and utterly invisible. While Claire basked in her new title and strutted around the office like she'd won a Nobel Prize, I was plotting. Not emotionally. Not rashly. Strategically. Daniel sent me the full collection of video clips, along with metadata, timestamps, security badge logs, file access histories. He even found Slack messages where Claire had copied parts of our private chats and forwarded them to a separate private channel with Mr. Levins. "How'd you even find that?" I asked over coffee at a quiet corner cafe. He shrugged. "I'm IT. We see everything. Most people just assume we're invisible." I smiled for the first time in days. "Thank God you aren't." Together, we organized the evidence into a private Google Drive folder, cross-referenced by incident. I labeled each file. Exhibit A, unauthorized file access. Exhibit B, security footage, folder theft. Exhibit C, Slack message forwardings, screenshots. Exhibit D, HR manipulation timeline. By Thursday afternoon, I had enough to make a lawyer weep with joy. But I didn't go to HR. I went above them. That Friday, the CEO of Coworker, Miriam Stone, was scheduled to visit our office for a quarterly check-in. She was sharp, no nonsense, and had built Coworker from a basement operation into a mid-size powerhouse. People feared her, but they respected her more. I knew I had a 5-minute window during her open-floor meet and greet. I timed it perfectly. When she stepped out of the elevator, surrounded by assistants and the regional director, I approached, calm, professional, clipboard in hand. "Ms. Stone, I'm Olivia Hartman. Could I have just 60 seconds of your time? It's extremely sensitive." She gave me a once-over. Her eyes were unreadable, but something in my tone must have convinced her. "Walk with me." We ducked into the small conference room beside the hallway. I shut the door behind us and opened my tablet. "I'm not here to ask for the promotion back. But I am here to protect your company from what I believe is ongoing unethical behavior involving employee surveillance, manipulation, and favoritism." That got her attention. I walked her through the folder. I didn't dramatize. I didn't whine. I laid out facts. Dates. Logs. Patterns. At the end, I slid the tablet to her with the full archive open. Claire Reynolds has been feeding personal information to Mr. Levins, often obtained under false pretenses. This conduct has affected HR decisions, including hiring and promotion. Ms. Stone sat silently for a long moment, her fingers steepled. "Do you have any reason to believe this is coordinated?" I looked her straight in the eye. If this happened to me and to Linda before me, and if Claire is still using her access to manipulate team dynamics, then yes. I think it goes deeper than one bad hire. She didn't thank me. She didn't scold me. She simply said, "We'll look into it." The next week was tense. Claire still walked around like she owned the place, but Levins had grown quiet. Almost jittery. His morning greetings were curt, his door was closed more often, and he didn't speak to me at all. Then, on Wednesday morning, everything changed. We arrived to an internal email from corporate compliance. Effective immediately, Claire Reynolds is no longer with the company. Please direct any project-related concerns to your direct supervisor. That was it. No farewell party. No transfer. No closure. She was gone. By 11 a.m., Levins was also escorted out, quietly but noticeably. He didn't even get to pack his own things. His office door was locked by noon. People whispered all afternoon, theories flying through the air like sparks. I said nothing. Just kept working. At 4:47 p.m., I received a call from HR. "Hi Olivia. The CEO has requested a private follow-up regarding recent internal concerns. Please meet her tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. I barely slept that night. The next morning, Miriam Stone greeted me with something rare, a smile. "You did the right thing. And you were smart about it." She poured herself coffee from a tray someone had prepped and gestured for me to sit. "What happened shouldn't have happened. I want to offer you a choice." I held my breath. "You can remain in your current role, with a performance bonus. Or, you can take over as interim lead analyst. Official title. Full authority. I'll have you reporting directly to my office for 60 days. After that, we'll decide on a permanent move. It wasn't just a promotion. It was vindication. I nodded once. I accept. She reached out, shook my hand firmly. Good. Let's rebuild the right way. Being named interim lead analyst should have felt like crossing the finish line. And in some ways, it did. The first morning I walked into that office, Levins's old office, was surreal. His nameplate was gone, the clutter he'd accumulated over years replaced by clean space and a new monitor. I stared at the empty chair for a long moment before sitting down. My badge beeped when I opened the secure cabinet. His key card had already been disabled. I was officially in charge. Word spread fast. Coworkers who had once kept their distance now nodded at me with quiet respect. A few even congratulated me in private. Daniel stopped by my office with a smirk and a thumbs up. Still weird seeing you in the big chair, he joked. Weird for me too, I smiled. But not unwelcome. For the next few weeks, things were smooth. I instituted transparent reporting systems. I gave credit where it was due, and I started mentoring 2 junior analysts who had been overlooked for months. For the first time, the team felt united, not just a bunch of people clocking in and trying not to get blamed for something. But here's the thing about cleaning house. Sometimes, you find dirt buried deeper than you expected. It started with an innocuous email from HR. Hi Olivia, just wanted to check whether you've seen these time card discrepancies from last quarter. They came up during a routine audit. I opened the file. And froze. The audit logs showed several retroactive entries logged under my name, clock-ins and outs I never submitted. Even some late-night access sessions in the server room. At first, I thought it was a mistake. Maybe a bug. Then I saw the IP addresses. 2 matched Daniel's workstation. I wanted to believe it was nothing. I wanted to believe Daniel was the one person in all this who'd helped me without a hidden motive. But I'd been naive before, and it nearly cost me everything. So I dug. Quietly. Carefully. I didn't go to HR this time. I went back into the system, using the access Levins had once used to spy on us all. And what I found shook me to the core. Daniel hadn't just saved evidence of Claire. He'd collected evidence on everyone. Private Slack messages. Email drafts. Deleted documents. Even audio clips recorded from meetings. He had a personal archive spanning years. And in the deepest folder, marked with a simple word. Insurance, I found video files of Levins and Claire together, planning who to promote, who to push out, even manipulating vendor contracts for kickbacks. Daniel had it all. And he'd never turned it in. I confronted him after hours, in the same cafe where we'd once shared whispered secrets and coffee. Why didn't you say anything? I asked, sliding my phone across the table with a paused video. Daniel didn't look surprised. Not even rattled. Because I didn't trust anyone, he said flatly. Not until you. I stared at him. You could have stopped them months ago. And what? Go. That was the moment I realized, Daniel had never been on my side. Not really. He'd just chosen to help me because I was useful, and because if things went south, he'd always have plausible deniability. He never cared about justice. He cared about leverage. I left the cafe without saying another word. That night, I uploaded a redacted version of the archive directly to Miriam Stone's secure inbox, with an unsigned message. If you want to clean this company for real, start here. No name. No fingerprints. Let the chips fall where they may. 2 weeks later, Daniel submitted his resignation, for personal reasons. He was gone by Friday. No investigation. No drama. Just like Claire. Sometimes, companies don't like to admit how deep the rot went. Epilogue. I stayed at Caldertech another 6 months. Enough to mentor new leads. Enough to put real systems in place. Enough to make sure that people no longer whispered in hallways, afraid of being overheard. Then I moved on, by choice this time. Not because I was scared, or betrayed, or passed over. But because I was finally ready. Sometimes, surviving a toxic system doesn't mean staying to rule it. Sometimes it means walking away before you become the very thing you fought. Slogan for your video promotion. She thought it was just office politics, until her coworker betrayed her for a promotion. But when lies turned into leverage, she didn't just survive, she rewrote the rules. Some promotions come with a price. And some enemies were friendly faces.